In this video, let's do some more complex renderings using Adobe Dimensions. I want to be able to place my logo onto a set of makeup products and have this placed inside of a picture so that it looks like it fits well in that picture. So I've given you a logo and I've also given you the picture that we want to place our makeup items into. Let's jump into Adobe Dimensions and create a new document. Now, the first thing we need to do is to create a simple box for our makeup to go in. In order to do that, I'm going to use a cube. So double click on the cube and place it into here. Now, the actual dimensions of the box don't really matter. This is really just for mock-up purposes. So with it selected, I'll use my black arrow selection tool. I'm going to resize it so that it's a little bit, taller than it is, well, here we go, taller than it is wide. So something like this. There we go. Also with it selected, let's see if we can have some fun with the surface of the design. Under your starter assets, if you scroll down, let's look for some of the substance materials, and we want to use the first one, the striped metal. If you click and drag it onto here, this will add some stripes and a metallic sheened surface. Now with it still selected, look at your properties. Because this is a special substance material, the properties allow us to change it up and alter it. For instance, I can add more stripes to my design by increasing it here, so let's do that. I can even change the stripe width. I can soften it, make it more or less embossed. Some of these will be a little bit more easier to see than others, but for now I like the look of that. One thing I do want to do is to change the colors of it. Since my theme is going to be very reds and purples, let's change the color of one of these stripes to alternate red and black. So under stripe 1, I can select the color. Let's make it kind of a dull red. And I want this red to be a very metallic red. So I'm going to bring it up and have it be very, very shiny. Again, it's going to try to render it as best as it can. With this finished, now let's focus on making a little makeup container. If I scroll up to the very top and look at all of my 3D assets, I want to look for one called the flip lid bottle. We'll place the flip lid bottle nice and on the same plane, roughly where it should be, and let's place it a little bit closer to there. Again, don't get it so close that it's going to actually interact with the box itself. Now to change up the parts of this, let's double click on the cap first. So I'm going to double click on it and have just the lid selected. If I need to zoom into this area, you can always choose the frame selection and it'll bring it up to here. That looks good. Again, let's go back over to our starter assets, and I want to scroll down to find the rainbow metallic color. So I'm going to click and drag that on top of there, and automatically you can see how it changes up and adds that nice little rainbow chrome effect. Now for the bottle, I'm going to click on the bottle itself. I want to be able to add some decals and my logo to here. So with the bottle selected, I'm going to scroll down, all the way down to the very bottom, here it is, and locate the Zigzag gradient decal. When we drag this onto our bottle, it's going to place it on there, but it's going to treat it like just a single picture. We want it to fill the entire area. So with it still selected, under the properties, change your placement from being a decal to a fill, and that'll bring it all the way up to there. So that looks really good with that. Again, we can make it more metallic by adjusting the amount of metal sheen that's on there. Now with this, we also want to place our logo onto it as well. So with it still selected, go to your actions and click on the Add Image, and let's choose the Makeup Logo PNG. When I say place, you can see it places our logo onto here. Because it's a PNG, it's picking up on some of the transparency. Now I can move it around and place it exactly where I want it to go. Now if I wanted to place my logo onto this cube, I can select it, but I don't get an option to be able to place it onto the cube. This is because this particular cube has been altered and changed its state, and it's got a unique little surface property. So to place something onto it, we need to be able to convert it to a standard model instead of the special model that it is. So when we click on Convert to Standard Model, this will give us the option now to place a graphic onto here, and let's choose that makeup logo again. Again, because we stretched it out, this is why our logo is also stretched out. So let's bring it back down to be fully proportional. That looks good. And let's place it somewhere on our package design too. Maybe scale it down just a bit more and place it there. That's looking really nice. From here, let's back out with our camera so we can see the whole area. Now we want to be able to place our picture graphic inside of this environment. So going over to our scene, select the environment, and on the background, we'll change the color to be an image. From here, we can select a file, and let's choose the Makeup Background JPEG. Now when we bring this in, you can see that it's placed the picture on here, but our perspective has been off. Traditionally, it'd be very difficult to match the perspective perfectly, but because this image has some nice lines going to it, we can use Dimension's ability to pick up on those lines, and it can actually automatically place our objects for us. So to do this, under the actions, tell it to match the image. This is going to resize the canvas, match our lighting, and also match our camera's perspective. When we say OK, we'll give it a second. And it's going to do its best to try to match the lighting that it thinks that is inside of this particular picture, and it does a pretty good job. Remember, in design mode, it's going to render it as low quality as possible. Now we can figure out where we want to place things and change up the scale of it if necessary. In my case, I'm going to choose my dolly tool and push everything backwards just a bit, and then maybe I'm going to zoom in. No, we won't change it up. I think everything looks good with that. I will, however, change up some of the lighting. Inside of my environment, I can play around with the amount of global lighting, making it more or less bright, or I can change up some of my directional lighting that have been automatically generated too. For instance, I can make it more or less intense, and I can rotate it around until I get a better sheen on my box and on my product. So playing around with the lighting does take a little bit of time. But let's see if we can get something that looks really nice. I like the height of it. Ooh, maybe too high. I'm going to bring it up to there. Once you've got the lighting set up, let's go to Render. We'll call this our Makeup Mockup. The quality of it we can keep at medium. And this time, let's render a Photoshop file. When you select Render, again, it'll take a few moments to be able to bring all of the lighting effects together. But once it's finished, you'll have a Photoshop mockup ready to go. I've already done this, so let me open up the Photoshop mockup and show you what this will look like. So once it's placed in here, you can zoom in and you can see how it does a much better job of rendering the metallic effect on here. It even gives a cast shadow. Since this was done before, I didn't have the logo on here, so pardon that. The best part about having this Photoshop mockup is it'll place all of your objects in their own individual layer. So at any time, if I need to change the background image, I can take that image out on that layer, or I can just place it inside of a color and change the background color to be whatever color I want it to be. Because it remembers all of the shadows and highlights to it, and it's placed my image on its own layer, everything works really, really beautifully. Now the additional layers that they give you, these will come in handy only if you want to change up and make your own individual mock-ups or place this inside of other 3D rendering software. For the most part, I won't be able to use these or use these for any of our projects that we're working on currently. Once we're finished, this Photoshop can be uploaded to our classroom page.